Thank you so much for joining us today, Christine. It's absolutely amazing to have you here. We've known each other for a few years, and I have heard a bunch of really cool stories over that time of the past you, of what you've done in your past. And I guess I want to just give you an opportunity to be able to share some of that with everybody now. So let me just ask you, how did you get started in this industry? When was it? Where was it? And do you have any kind of cool stories or wisdom that you can share from that time?
Yeah, hi James. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I've been in the industry for a wee while now, and I started my massage journey in Scotland, where I qualified. And yeah, I've probably worked in practically every single massage environment possible. So apart from a spa, I've never worked in a spa. I've
There's still
worked
time.
pretty much everywhere else, I think. Yeah. So doing event work and backstage performance, for rock bands and stuff like that was pretty cool. Working with sports people. What else have I done? I've worked at alcohol and drug rehabilitation doing massage. I'm trying to think of what else I've been doing. Oh, I've worked with refugees. I've worked with mental health patients doing massage. Yeah,
Wow.
I've worked in
So
the NHS.
a huge career across a lot of things.
Yeah, a
Maybe,
lot of
is there
different things.
something that stands out from that? And let's just sort of pre-frame this, that you didn't start massage here in Australia, right? We're
No,
talking, yeah. So
yeah.
is there something, like what stands out from your early time working in Scotland?
The early time that I worked in Scotland, basically, I just said yes to absolutely everything that came along. So if I was offered work in collaboration with a chiropractor or a podiatrist, or I just said, yeah, sure, even though I really didn't know how to work with them or anything like that. I just said, what would you like to happen to, the other allied health people I was working with? And they'd say, oh, well, I've always found this and this worked really well in this situation. I've gone, oh, okay, cool. So would you, and then I would suggest, would you like me to do more stretching and strengthening exercises, or would you like me to work on these particular muscles with your patient? And they go, oh yeah, that would be great. And then, like, the more times I did that stuff, the more confident I became at doing it. So I I just took every opportunity that was going, really, I guess.
It's a great way to start too, isn't it? It's like say yes to everything, work out the details later, get that experience under your belt and learn as you go. That's really awesome. And
Yeah.
when you started, what would you say were your biggest challenges? Like what, maybe in business or in practice itself, what were the things that you felt were the sticking points?
Yeah, I think when I very first started, so I graduated and pretty much went to work like the next day, pretty much. So I graduated on Friday, went to work on Monday. And the biggest challenge there was I didn't actually have a designated treatment area. So I was actually working out of my home, and I was working out of my living room. And it wasn't an ideal space, and I wasn't completely comfortable with it. And so I knew that I wanted to get a rented room somewhere. But in order to do that, I needed to have the clients, and I needed to have like the regular bookings and the diary. So that was the biggest challenge. Like, how do you do that? And I'm not sure, and all of that stuff. And I had a really, really small budget at the time. And I think I've told you before, I started off and I had two sets of towels, and I would massage every evening in my, what you call in Scotland, in your front room, in your living room. And and then I would wash the towels in the day and then the next evening. So I would do that every single night of the week. So that was suddenly became 10 clients. And I did that, I think it was probably for about 2 months. And then I had the ability, like the little bit of fun set up so that I could go and and I actually went room shopping, which was really good fun actually. And I just drove around my area and I thought, where would be good to work from? Where's a nice place? And I would drive around like in the day and look at everything, drive around at night and look at everything. Because I was used to work in the evening, I thought I would continue to work in the evenings. So I wanted something that looked quite safe at night and well lit, and who's going around here at nighttime, That's very Scottish, actually. So that's what I did. I just kind of looked at different venues and things, and eventually I thought, I think I need somewhere that has got people. That was attractive to me. So I looked at places that had other people going around, and a place that was open in the evening, and I discovered a sports centre, and I thought, and it was only maybe like 3 miles from my house, which was really close. And I approached the desk, and was lovely to the receptionist, and she was like, well, I can let you speak to the manager. And then he came and spoke to me, and I said, I'm a remedial massage therapist, and I'm looking for a room to rent. And he was like, well, we don't really have rooms, but I have this cupboard. And I went, okay, let's see.
Was it under the stairs?
He took me through to where the hydrotherapy pool. Well, it was through where the hydrotherapy pool was, and they've got, bigger disabled changing rooms and things like that. And then they had 2 huge, huge cupboards that they kept, the floats and equipment, for using in the hydrotherapy pool. And he had 2 of these rooms side by side. And I said, these are actually great rooms. And the flooring was like a hard floor on there. And he was like, I can put in carpet for you. He was like, no, don't bother with, when you're using oils and waxes and things, you're better off with no carpet. And he was like, oh, right, okay, great. Because I can put dimmer switches in. I was like, oh, that would be great. Yeah. And he was like, is there anything else you'd want? And I was like, a sink would be great. And he went, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I'll look into that for you. And what he was thinking was, I'm going to make money out of a cupboard. Brilliant. And what I was thinking was, this is amazing. They're going to put in all this stuff for me. It's fantastic. And that was the start of a very, very good working relationship between the 2 of us. He was able to make money out of a cupboard, and I had a really secure, safe place to work that had lots of people going about. I had a brilliant relationship with the receptionist. She would send lots of people to me. I massaged all the lifeguards because it was a swimming pool and it had a weights room. So my massage room, it wasn't that tiny either. It was quite good sized. It was underneath the weights room. So it was at times noisy. And there was spin classes in the, up above us and things. But the people that started coming were really sporty, active people. So they didn't really notice the noise that much.
Yeah.
So it really worked out amazingly well. So, if you are room shopping, just get a wish list together and see what you can get. It was quite an amazing thing, actually.
Yeah, fantastic. And working out of a cupboard. I think that's great. What a good place to start. That's really nice. And I guess what I can hear there too is that you did take a bit of action, and you were quite, and you said you sort of built confidence as you went, but it sounds like even at the start, you were quite confident within yourself. You were ready to go and sort of make a wish list of where would be great, and you looked around, you found the right place, then you approached them. And I think that's a good example of how to make things happen. Literally, is just go out, decide what it is you want, look around, get some experience, and then set an intention and go and see if you can find it. That's a really good way to be able to get a start.
Yeah.
You also make it sound...
the easiest thing to do at the time, James. I was, really nervous and really like, this feels like a big deal. I probably spent about 5-10 minutes in the car rehearsing what I was going to say, and, deep breathing and working up the bravery to go in and go, hello.
How great is that though? Because even that's an awesome thing to share. Thank you, Christine. Because, part of confidence is that you get confident after you've done something, right? It's easy now, years later, to tell that story and it sounds like, oh yeah, this is part of a bigger story, because it is. But when we're going through things the first time, it always feels challenging. That's life, that's learning. Yeah, I love that. And so you started off, you're doing a lot of sports treatments, working out of a sports place, athletes and that kind of thing. I've got to circle back though. You mentioned you worked with celebrities and that kind of stuff as well. Are there any, like, are you allowed to share any cool celebrities that you worked on? Or any? Oh, you're shaking your head. You got to say no for the audio, Christine.
All I can say is drummers that run into your little massage dressing room and just jump on your table and break your table are not my favorite people.
Yeah, what a great experience though, to be able to have that breadth of challenge across different areas, different parts of life. What about, I mean, you obviously, you're here in Australia now, working not just as a massage therapist, but now you're also doing training for other massage therapists. You've created courses in hot stones and scar tissue. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that journey? Maybe what brought you here to Australia? What did you notice was different between Australia and Scotland? And then how have you transitioned out of that kind of active massage role into the next phase?
Yeah. Why did we come back? We came back because my husband, Oliver, got offered a job at the university here in Armidale. To be honest, I wasn't that keen on leaving Scotland and coming over because I had continued my studies and I'd actually gone and gotten the highest massage qualification you can get in the UK. And it's still the highest qualification. So I had just qualified from them and I was one of the top 50 therapists in the country. And I was like, I'm just about to use all this beautiful learning and I'm moving country and I have to start all over again. Oh. And I was like, oh, and it felt like a bit of, high to a low. Obviously, sometimes things are just meant to be, and you just, you just have to go with the family sometimes. And when I came over here, the thing I noticed in the town that I live in was that there was a TAFE teaching massage, and there was a lot of massage therapists, and none of them were really had a website, not one website, and there was no real. I was looking for some massage buddies. There was no real community. And I had come from this incredibly supportive massage community in the UK. And I was like, oh, where is everyone? So I thought, oh, okay. And what I did was I went around the town and went to all the massage places and said, hi. And some were friendlier than others. And some were friendlier once I booked a treatment. And so I started to get to know everybody in the town. And one of the ladies at Little Massage Centre, she was saying, we got chatting, I booked a massage and we got chatting, and she was like, you know what, I'm actually planning to take a big holiday and go to, I can't remember, it's like Northern Territory and like Kakadu and all that. Yeah, it's like beautiful and they go for a long time. And yeah, so she was planning to do that. And she said, I wondered if you would cover my clinic for me when I'm away for, 7 weeks. And I said, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, okay. And we made a little deal beforehand. I said to her, I have to use my hot stones. I can't not use them. And she was like, well, I don't do hot stones. And I said, it's cool. It's just, I always use them. I find it hard to massage without them. She said, okay then. I said, so just so we know, I am not stealing any of your clients right from the outset. That was what we agreed. I was like, okay, brilliant. And she just said to me, just charge the same price that I charge, and you just need to pay the rent and do this and do that. And I was like, okay, cool. So after she came back, one of her other colleagues in the same centre was like, oh, I'm going to go visit my family in WA for 4 weeks. Will you cover my clinic? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I did that, and the same deal. And then one of the clients who I'd seen with the first person then started going to the second person. And then she was like, so what are you doing once you finished here this 4 weeks? And I said, oh, I'll just go home. I'll just make a clinic from home and, happy there. And she was like, oh, no, I don't think that's going to work. And I was like, oh, what? And she said, you have to come and hire a room from my son, who's a chiropractor, and he works just across the cricket oval here. And I went, okay, righto. So what's his name then? What's his number then? Okay. So I gave him a ring and set up a meeting, and he showed me the rooms, really nice room. So that's what happened. I moved in there and had a clinic there for about 3 years, actually. It was another nice relationship that we had, and I ended up eventually hiring 2 rooms off of him, and I had at one point 3 members of staff in that same premises. There was more massage people than chiropractors at one point. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's great. And what a great story of being able to connect with a community or even create one that wasn't there at the time, and feeling that support from your clients, but also from other massage therapists in the town, and then a chiropractor, and the relationships that happen in that way is absolutely great. And I can see from that, again, you've got that kind of ability to step forward into things that you might not know what's going to happen, but you're ready to be able to just take that opportunity when it's there. And that's a really good thing to be able to learn from and to continue to model. I also want to come back to something you mentioned about hot stones, because I know this is something some massage therapists here in Australia and across the world are going to be interested in. Hot stones have more of a reputation of being used as part of a relaxation treatment, or just independently as part of relaxation. And yet you're saying you use them in every treatment as part of sort of remedial work. Is that right? Tell us a bit more about that.
That's correct. Yeah. So I accidentally struck gold one day in Scotland when I was doing a massage, and I'd had somebody on the table previously who'd had a hot stone massage, and I was probably a little bit tired or a little bit not quite thinking a bit like that, doing my massage, and then just automatically picked up a stone and brought the stone into the treatment. And the person on the table was like, oh, that's nice. What's that? And I said, oh, it's a hot stone. And then I kind of went, oh, you didn't book a hot stone, did you? And she went, no, but keep doing that. It's really good. Well, oh, okay then. So I just accidentally hit upon this thing that if I actually use the hot stones in every treatment, it was a third of the effort for me to actually work. It really was amazing, and people loved it. I couldn't believe how much they loved it. Even when they thought they were having a remedial treatment, I would bring in the stone and use it remedially as an extension of myself, I guess. And then I remember one time just saying to somebody, they booked a remedial treatment, they went on the table and I didn't use a stone. They said, oh, I heard that you always had stones. And I'm like, oh, who told you that? And it was like a referral from another client. And I was like, oh, right, yeah, no, I can bring them out if you want. And they were like, yeah. So, and then it just stuck. And then I just used them in every single treatment. And I found that I had more energy, and I could see more clients, and I could charge more money. And yeah, it was basically a win-win. Clients loved it as well. So yeah,
that's fantastic.
That's what happened.
Because it's introducing a point of difference for you. Like that referral is a classic example. If you've got people on the table saying, oh, I thought you did this, and they've never experienced it before, word is getting round. So that's a really good thing to be able to listen out for. And then for you at your end, being able to use them as part of the treatment to reduce your own effort or the wear and tear on your body and your energy, that is a huge win. That's really great. And then from there, like I'm guessing this is a few years later or several years later, you've actually started teaching other people how to do the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So in fact, that first lady that I did that locum work for, she actually was a teacher at the TAFE here. And she said to me, Christine, we've got a vacancy for a teacher. You should apply. And I went, oh, cool, thanks. And I went along and they said, have you got your TAE? And I said, what is that? And they were like, oh, it's a training thing. I was like, oh, okay. How do I get it? So they gave me all the details of how to actually get a TAE. And so I went away and got that qualification and came back to them and said, okay, I've got that now. And they were like, who is this? And I got a job with the TAFE. So that's how the teaching kind of started here. And they were really keen for me to teach the remedial hot stones that I was doing in my clinic to the students. And I had a little think about that at the time, and I thought, maybe not, is what I thought about that. I'm not so sure that I want to do that, because I wasn't sure I was going to stay at the TAFE. There was a few bits and pieces that I thought, it was about basically owning your intellectual property and things like that. And I was a bit like, I'm not 100% on that. And I got advice off a couple of lawyer friends, and they were just like, yeah, that might not be the best plan for you, Christine. Like, okay. And I'd always fancied having a massage school of my own. And I thought, well, that would be a great thing to teach. It really would be a beautiful thing to teach. So I left the TAFE, and I think that's when I actually started working with you and Alicia, just after I left there. And the intention right from the start was to create a course or a workshop or a something around the hot stones. So and that came into fruition a few years on. So I think
you've got a course and a workshop and a something about the hot stones. That's great. Yeah. And obviously, right now, as we're recording this, we're a little bit post-COVID. In-person workshops have been a bit difficult for, a year or more right now. And who really knows where that's going to go in the future. But you have also taken this training online. And I thought that's something that I ask you about as well, because I know some of the objections, so you will have heard these come up, is that people say, how can you learn massage online? Like, massage is such a tactile, physical thing. How does it work going online? And so for you, as someone who's been teaching this now for, a year or more, online.
The first course came out in 2018.
Oh, so that's like 3 years, 2 or 3 years.
Amazing.
Well, yeah, that is amazing. Well done.
Amazing. So, and it's I really was deliberate in creating something that was high quality. I thought that actually online actually gave the luxury of time to therapists to actually have a longer time than just a weekend to learn something that was so drastically different than what they're usually doing. With the online stuff, I do only teach diploma trained therapists, because they already have that touch skill in their hands. They know what they're doing remedially. So that helps a lot when I come along and I put a great big stone in their hand and say, feel through this. And the way that we do that, we have certain touch exercises to increase awareness and to open up the sensitivity, I guess, in the hands. So we basically increase that in order to then layer on the theoretical components. And they also have to do organized practice time. So and it's really unique the way that they do this. Each therapist that comes through, it's so interesting. Each therapist that comes through does it in their own way. So I've had a myotherapist actually come through and crazy busy, like so busy already. And they were really interested in the hands saving side of this. Yeah. And I just said to her, you're not going to do practice people. You're just going to bring this straight into your clinic. And she was like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, we're going to set up your hot stones, and all you're going to do is just introduce it really gently to your clients. And she was like, oh. I'm like, you are a qualified myotherapist. You can do this. And you're going to take all of these techniques that I'm teaching you, and then you're going to create about 20 more of your own. And at the end of the 7 weeks, she was like, you are right. It's amazing. I can so do this. And yes, I have made up about 20 new moves that are just mine. And I'm like, so awesome. So they do watch videos. So visually, they can see exactly what's happening. And then we have our little Q&A sessions on Zoom every week. So they can bring any observations or questions or reservations to the group, and the group learns together. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's important to note too that you're working with qualified therapists. It's not that you're teaching actual massage or other techniques from scratch. And I remember speaking with another trainer who was transitioning from live workshops to doing online stuff. And I remember her telling me that sometimes you're in a live workshop and everyone just stands around with their phones to record what's going on anyway. So they're not really engaging particularly well in the liveness of it. And then when they get home, they've got a crappy video because they've just been taking it on their phone and shaking all around and they're far back behind everyone else. And she was saying it actually works better to just give them the right videos, get them done really well professionally. They can watch them as many times as they want. And that's part of the advantage to that. That's great. And so you've been teaching that for a few years now. And then the next step is you're stepping into scar tissue work. And I know this is something that I guess just being in the massage industry, scars is something that seems to just be kind of coming to the forefront of people's knowledge, how massage can treat scars so effectively and how much scars themselves can impact movement throughout the body. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? What's been your story getting into scar work?
Well, getting into the scars, that happened again in Scotland. And I basically received some treatment from one of my teachers. And I'll tell you, this might be a little bit too much information for you, James, but we'll go there anyway.
We'll see how we go.
Okay, brace yourself. Now, I was on a course. It wasn't a scar course. I was on a course and I actually had a really bad period cramps. And I was like, oh, I'm not coping very well today. And the teacher said in the break, jump on the table. I'll just do this little thing for you. I was totally clothed and everything. And I'll just do this one little technique for you and it'll help. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So I'm lying there and she basically, I'll tell you what, she was like sandwiching me between her hands on my abdomen. And I'm lying there going, oh, nothing's happening, like this. And then she just leans right in like that and whispers, Christine, when did you have your surgery? And I went, what? And I said, how did you know I had surgery? She goes, I can feel it. I went, oh. So that got me a little bit interested in scars, James.
That's awesome and just a little bit spooky. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, scars can be a little bit spooky because of the heightened ability to feel. That's really the amazing kind of secret sauce to it, is that heightening of awareness of what's going on with someone's fascia. So that's really what that's all about.
So tell us a bit more about what actually is going on. Like, why do you see a scar having an impact on people as far as pain or movement or restriction? And how does treatment help that?
Yeah, so what happens with the scar is it's an interruption in the fascia. So what can happen is, I'll do like a little, you won't see because I'm wearing black, but if you do like a little thing like this, and then you try to move your arm, you can feel that restriction, but you can also feel that pull around the back as well.
So you're twisting a knot in your t-shirt. If anyone's
just
listening on audio here,
I'm twisting a knot in my t-shirt. You won't see it, but even if you do it like in your abdomen, you twist it and pull it out the front, you'll feel the tension across your back, which kind of is a demonstration of how much of a three-dimensional organic thing a person actually is. We are so used to separating ourselves with clothing that we don't really think of ourselves as an organic three-dimensional form anymore.
Wow, isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? So when we start to kind of tune in to that three-dimensional form, suddenly you can become very much aware of everything that's happening within your body. So most of the time we don't feel our clothes on our skin or our heart beating or, blood pumping to whatever, like your brain or whatever. We don't feel that stuff normally. But if you think about it, you can hone into it. And as a therapist, you can do that to other people as well. You can hone into that stuff too, which is really interesting. So I teach people how to do that with the scars, and also the theoretical science behind it. So what you're really doing is you're softening the fascia to allow the flow of lymphatics and blood and the nervous system to work better, so that the health is actually improved in the tissues.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's what you're doing.
And I remember being at a conference, like I'm not a massage therapist myself, but I go to conferences sometimes. And I remember being at a conference and listening to a really interesting talk where the guy was saying that we often think, a bit like you're saying with clothing, we often think of our bodies as being quite separate. It's like a bone is then attached to muscle, which is attached to this and that and fascia. And he was really saying that inside the human body, one sort of just blends into the other. They're not like separate attached things. And that bone can be a type of fascia. You can kind of look at the way that all those things connect.
Yeah.
And so then when you kind of look at the entire body being connected, even just one little piece of restriction pulls all over the place and can create all sorts of weird and wonderful impacts, right?
Yeah. And when you were working with scars are sometimes really helpful for people, which is an interesting thing too. And it's knowing when to help soften that tissue in a helpful way, or whether just to like, you know what, I actually think that scar is doing a great job. We're just going to leave it alone. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I did make quite a big mistake one time. I was working with someone who had a club foot, and they'd had surgery on their foot. And what happens with the club foot is the leg, the affected leg, the lower leg gets atrophied. The muscles aren't being used anymore. And where the scars are, they get plastered right down onto the bone. And and I know this person. He's a mountain biking friend, really active guy, great guy. And he was like, "Oh, Christine, can you just, work on my foot?" And da-da-da-da. I was like, "Yeah, cool. Yeah, have a look at that." And it was like, "Yeah, I'm sure I can do something for that." So did all this work and gave him a call a couple of days later. How are you going? He was like, "Oh, problems." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Good and bad." I'm like, "Tell me." And he's like, "Number one, I've got no pain anymore." I went, "Oh, that's wonderful. Well done." Number two, I have no instep anymore. None of my shoes fit me. I don't know how to walk anymore. And I was like, "Oh no, come in. I'll try and teach you. I'll try and get this muscles working," because the scar was doing the job of the muscle. The muscle was so atrophied that it no longer did its job. Yeah. And the muscle was acting like a stirrup underneath his foot to create an instep.
Wow, isn't that interesting? And so when you've released the scar, it's released what was actually working in that place.
Yeah. So it's, when we look at scars, we're often taught about them or as negative things and that they're useless and not doing anything. But actually, I approach them from a point of appreciation. I think they're incredible. And I think the work of the surgeons is like just magical, what they can do. It's just fascinating. And there's an appreciation there of the beauty of the body, like how incredible that the body always wants to heal itself. It's always trying to heal itself, always trying to allow you to move, even with compensations and weird stuff like that. It's really
that's a great reframe. Because I agree. I imagine a lot of people would think of scars and immediately think of like what caused the scar, as in trauma or some kind of accident or whatever. There's quite a lot of attachment. They're kind of somber. But if you look at it and go, well, the scar is actually where the body has healed from that trauma. that even just literally flipping your mind around to that gives you an appreciation and a different perspective on what's happening there. Do you have any like fun scar stories rather than something that's somber and traumatic? Is there anything that you've worked on that can be funny or fun?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Every scar has a tale to tell, and one that does spring to mind is I had a farmer come in, and he's an older chap, approaching his 60s, and I'm chatting away, going, "So where exactly is the scar located? Can you point to it?" Because that's my normal way. Because as therapists know, not everybody knows, that low back is low back. Sometimes they go low back and they point to a buttock because they don't want to say buttock, which is really sweet. And this guy stands up, turns around, and actually points to his buttock. And I was like, okay. So the scar is actually on your gluteal muscle. He's like, "I actually don't have much of a gluteal muscle there, Christine." I was like, "Why not?" He goes, "I was shot. I had a gunshot wound there." I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." He goes, "Yes, basically my best mate shot my ass off." My next question was, "Are you still best mates?" Like, "Oh yeah." They've been best, like this had happened in like their early teens together when they were out shooting. I don't know what they were shooting with shotguns, but
not shooting each other.
But they ended up accidentally shooting the other one, and it basically gave him a lifelong limp. And and he was coming to me because he'd heard that I worked with scars and helped people. So
there you go. That's fantastic. Yeah, I love it. Healing scars and healing relationships, maybe healing something. Yeah, that's great.
They were still friends, so it's all good.
That's awesome. It sounds like, you've got a heap of wisdom from the practice that you've had over so many years, and now you're teaching other people. And I can really just see, and through the rest of it, I know you a little bit from having worked with you for a few years. And I know the journey you've been on has been one where you've been in the industry long enough to just quite organically and naturally, using your personality and your ambition, to be able to move up to the level that you're at. If you were talking to someone who was at the beginning of that journey, like imagine that right now there's another therapist listening to this who's kind of like you were in those first few weeks in Scotland working out of a sports clinic, what would you say to them, just as your biggest piece of advice, your biggest learning from that journey? What's Christine's wisdom that we can pass on to them?
My first and foremost thing is always look after yourself. Like, it's so important. It's so important to look after yourself. And the next thing would really be do the scary stuff. Do the scary stuff. It's the stuff that you will learn the most from, probably the quickest. Everything that I found the most challenging, I probably learned the most from. It's accelerated me further on my next thing to learn about.
Yeah, that is awesome advice. Look after yourself and stretch yourself at the same time. Do the scary things. I love that so much, because again, that's what we see creates growth. If you stay in that comfort zone, you might be comfortable or you might not, but you never grow until you step out of that. So yeah, you're a classic example of that, Christine. And I'm super impressed by the entire journey that you've been on, and the level of excellence that you have now in the programs and the training that you do with other people is spot on. If someone listening is interested, they're hearing about Remedial Hot Stones for the first time, or they're interested in the scar tissue course that you're running, where would they find you? What's the best place?
I think Facebook's probably the first stop that people can find me on there. And if they don't want to find me on there, they can go to the website as well.
For sure.
That's ckmassagetraining.com.
No worries. And we'll put some links in the show notes. If someone's listening or watching this, you can click through and find Christine that way. I really would recommend that you reach out and do some of the training, or just say g'day to Christine. She's a fantastic person to speak with, as you can hear, as well as being excellent as a trainer in the field and an asset to the massage industry. Absolutely love it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for coming on board today, Christine. It's been really a privilege to speak with you. And I'm so happy that you're able to share some of those stories with our listeners.
Thank you.
Catch you soon.